So who has time for an intro when we have Eurorack modules to review? This is the Dreadbox Chromatic series. There are currently 6 colorful modules, an analog oscillator with pitch quantization, a filter, mixer and VCA combo module, a 3-stage delay, a dual modulator that can do envelopes and LFOs, a bit crusher which also works as a filter and noise generator, and the CV audio manipulator which is a mixer with attenuator inverters and a form of distortion unit. Next up, I thought I'd walk you through the modules, patch something from scratch, and yeah, show you what they are about. So let's start over here. Here we have the Hysteria. That's a VCO, so it's an analog oscillator. We have the 1 volt per octave input that I'm gonna hook up to my little mutant brain. We also have CV control, we have a hard sync output, we have a pulse output, as well as the main output. But down here is where it gets more exciting, because you can quantize the pitch of this oscillator. That way you can use this fader here to change octave and this fader here to change semitones. And of course, if you take it off, it's just normal coarse tuning and fine tuning. So we have coarse tuning. We also have a wide range of waveforms we can select between. And what's really cool is that for some of them we can actually change the wave shape. So of course got the pulse width modulation available for us. So for each waveform without one of the dots here, you can actually change the shape of it. And we of course have CV control of all of this, which can make for some, yeah, pretty cool stuff. So I'm gonna take an LFO from this module here. Let's modulate the octave range. And I'm gonna take another LFO from the delay unit and plug it into the wave shape. Next up, I think we should add a filter, and we have the Eudaimonia, and I think this is one of the best modules in this series. It's such a nice multi-purpose, multi-function little unit. So it's a filter, it's a mixer, and it's a VCA. So let's start here. We actually have low pass, high pass. The low pass is resonant, so you can control the resonance with this little fader here. And we also have the VCA. And then we have a 3-part mixer here, or 3-channel mixer. So we can insert something here and we can take the signal out. And now I'm going to control the VCA here using this envelope.
And what's really cool is also you can overdrive the signal quite a bit. So we have the low pass, we have the resonance here, and we have the high pass. And you can use it together with the low pass. And the filter is a 24 dB per octave filter, and you have CV control over the low pass. You also have 1 volt per octave tracking for the filter, as well as CV control over the high pass, but no CV control over the resonance. And of course, 3 inputs, and you have these 3 controls here for the levels of the inputs. And let's add some drums to this to make it less repetitive and control the filter CV. Next up we need to add some delay, and we have this nostalgia delay unit here, and this one is also, just like all the rest here, multifunction units. You actually have outputs for LFOs here. So you have triangle and square outputs, and you have rate and depth control, and the LFO of course also modulates the delay itself. So let's plug in the synth sound, and we have a master output here. We also have 2 different outputs for taking the signal at the different, because this is a 3-stage delay. So you can take the signal at the first stage, the second stage, or the master stage, depending on what kind of signal you want. That was the delay. Next up we have the ataxia. It is your envelope, and this is also a multifunction unit. So basically we have 2 trig inputs, we have 2 outputs and levels for the outputs. Now this has different modes. So if it looks like this, both are grayed out, it means that you're outputting from output 1. If I press this one here, it means that we're outputting from output 2. And the fader precisions are saved, so if I switch from number 2 to number 1 and I change it, it will not affect number 2. Now if we look down here, it says ADSR, so attack, decay, sustain, and release. Now the ADSR mode is accessed by holding these 2 together, and now with the press of this button here, we can cycle through the different shapes that are available to us. So now we're here, this shape, 1 press, we're in the middle, and if it's blinking, we're on number 3 here. So this fader here controls the release, of course. So what I've set up here, for example, to control the VCA is just an ADSR. However, if you put it in ADSR mode, both of the channels will be ADSR, both of the envelopes will be ADSR envelopes. But let's go back to the modulator mode. So in the modulator mode, we have rise, fall, and we have hold time, as well as the wave shape. So you can switch between using this fader here. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take this gate output, this random gate output from the Dystopia module. I'm gonna send it here to the trig of the modulator. And let's go out into, let's say waveform. And let's add a pad sound from the wave state. But this modulator also has an LFO function. So if I remove the trigger here, I can just press this button once and now we're in LFO mode. And if we listen to it without the delay, next up we have the Dystopia. It's a noise generator, it's also a bit crusher, and you can actually use it as a filter as well. So let me just show you here. This output here gives us random gates, and we also have this wild scatter function. We have the external input and we have CV control here. So basically we could be using this as a filter. So for example, let's see here. Let's take the signal out from this. So let's take the VCO and let's take the signal here. So with this output here, we get a low pass, and with this output, we get a high pass. So one thing I like to do is to take the scatter, and I'm gonna use it to control the rate of this LFO that we're taking here, and we're controlling the octave up and down. Lastly, we have the Utopia. So basically it's a mixer, but it also sports a 10-year inverters as well as an LFO here. And it has this pulsarizer, which basically sums stuff together and forces it into a square wave. That's the most technical explanation I can give. Here we have LFO control, we have rate, CV for the LFO. So you have 4 inputs over here, and if you don't plug anything into number 3, you have an offset generator. If you don't plug anything into number 4, you have an LFO.
What makes this mixer a lot of fun is that you can tap signals, put them through effects, bit crush them, put them back into the mixer, put them through the polarizer, put it back through the mixer, and create some pretty musical things.
So what do I think about the Chromatic series? Well, for somebody starting out in Eurorack, I think it's a good place to start looking. It's very nicely priced, still pretty good build quality, I'd say. Sure, the faders are a little wobbly and the knobs are Volca style, but you do have to cut costs somewhere to deliver them at these prices. So for somebody starting out, I think that there are 2 modules that I'd recommend. It's the VCO, because I really like that it's pitched, quantized, and that you can actually modulate octave range and semitone range. I think there's a lot of potential there. And then I also want to recommend the Eudaimonia, because it's filter, VCA, mixer, all in one. I mean, you will have a ton of use for that. And the envelope module is pretty good as well for a beginner, but there are of course so many different envelope modules to pick from, depending on your needs and your budget. overall, I think that the strengths are the price, of course. I think the design is lovely. I think the functionality, that each module has basic functions but also more advanced functions, and they also have multiple utilities. So for example, the fact that you have the LFOs on the delay unit, you can take the LFOs and do something else with them if you want to. I really like that. So there's a lot of original concepts here that I enjoy. Yeah, I'm gonna use this quite a bit, I think. So I hope you enjoyed this little review. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comment section. I'm sure there are more knowledgeable people that can answer more complicated questions if there's anything I kind of left out. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next video. If you want to support what I do here on YouTube, head over to patreon.com/bowbeats. Oh, and let me know if there are other modules that you want me to check out, if there are brands and modules that you think could fit me and fit my channel. Let me know in the comment section. Talk to you later.